We're hopefully looking good here. We are starting on time and with video for me and my guest. Tonight's show, understand, is a little different than some Twitch streams. We're going to let you guys figure that out. I'm just going to kind of jump right into it. My guest tonight is Dustin Clingman, and he plays as TheeMystic, but more likely you know him as the host of the Megahaulin Podcast. And he and I did about 70 episodes together between the end of 2014 and the end of 2017. And I'm thrilled to be reuniting with him tonight. Dustin, how the hell are you?
Hello, Matt, and it's great to be here on Just Scrappin. How's it going, man?
Does it feel odd, me doing the intro?
Not at all. No, I kind of always wondered on the podcast why you didn't just like grab the controls and say, no, I'm going to count us in. I'm going to run this. I think we should have done that at least a couple of times in 70 episodes plus.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I think one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, as much as I always enjoyed the format, that was pretty brilliant. I really respected that you stuck us to a format that people knew and expected, and that's something we see in podcasts is desirable. That's what people want. And at the same time, part of what I really enjoyed was the 15, 20 minutes or so that you and I would spend both before and after the cast, just kind of BSing and talking. And I thought that, I feel like we can get some of that tonight.
Absolutely. And I really enjoyed those moments as well. I was thinking the other day, I was like, I was wondering what's going on in the UFC, and I was like, I should ask Matt, because he's probably going to have a really good rundown for me. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to tonight. Thank you for having me, and I'm really excited by this new format. I don't know if you'll always use Star Realms as the core game, but I'll always be watching as long as you're running it.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the focus right now. I just want to just acknowledge, thank you for everyone who's stopping in. This is not a cast where we're going to be acknowledging chat much. I do want to sort of maybe just see if we can confirm if sound is good. Hopefully we can see that that's the case. So tonight, I think, Dustin and I are going to talk about obviously several things. Yeah, we're not going to be short on topics, but Star Realms, of course. I'm sure we'll reminisce a little bit about the days in the first rendition of the cast. We'll talk a little bit about the current rendition of the cast. And also I'm excited to kind of get a little bit of insight from Dustin. Dustin has a very cool and interesting job in the world of gaming. And I think we're going to try to see if we can pull a few little secrets or rumors or just some news out of him tonight.
Okay, well, good luck with that. I have an excellent saving throw versus NDA violation.
Yeah, no, this is not an interview show. It's not something where I'm going to be asking you probing questions that are going to test the boundaries and try to get you to slip up. But, what I do kind of hope is that you are able to provide a little bit of insight, not only about what your role is, but maybe something that people will be excited about. And we'll be kind of talking over games. We Dustin and I haven't decided how we're going to be doing our games yet tonight. And we can kind of talk about our plays, or we can just play and talk about PlayStation. Do you want to get us into a game here right away? Should I send you a challenge, or do you want to send me one?
I will send you a challenge. What's your in-game name again?
It's Bry is stupid. No, it's
okay. I'm sending you a 48-hour challenge right now to Bry is stupid. I'm sure Bry is stupid would love that.
All right, I like it.
So yeah, I guess I took a little bit of a break from Star Realms, and I was playing a lot less And when I came back, I was thinking, I really haven't put the time or hours against the new games and new systems. So I just started over, and I ground out one full level of vanilla. Then I added Colony Wars, and then now I've added Frontiers. So I'm positive that I've annoyed a lot of people with these, boring non-missions, non-events, non-heroes, non-serious expansions. And hey, I'm not sorry about that. I did very well, but I think now I'm ready to start unicorn hunting, and so I might end up showing up on that radar. I hope I'll get one, then I can retire.
So, I think that especially as we're seeing that White Wizards is opting for base set use in high profile tournaments still, even though they're digital, I think that adds some relevance to playing with core set. Each of them, number one. And number two, I think there's just some really good value to still going back and reminding your brain about how these play in their natural state. That's one of the things you were always good about. When we were going through, say, Colony Wars, you made a point, hey, we're going to talk about this in the context just of this set. And I think it's still good to remind ourselves sometimes. Look at this row. I got 8.
Well, you get to waste one. I do not. I'm just like, ah. At least it's a nice trade row for that.
There's not really a wrong call here, right? I mean...
Yeah, there is a wrong call. For sure, there's a wrong call. I'm going to wait till you pick, and then I'll tell you if you got it right or not.
So let me see how many resources Dustin's invested in. He is invested in enough that he still probably won't be able to grab these in the next couple of turns. I have in the freighter. I'm wondering if Dustin's thinking the right call is that office. And being in core, something that Dustin and I talked a lot about back in the days of vanilla, you don't take this off the bat, right? That's a liability this early, right?
Central Station?
No. The new bot. I'm sorry, the fighter.
Never.
Yeah.
No. It's a sucker's. That's a sucker's buy. You did radically increase your chances of winning this game by buying that base, and you were wrong. I could have got it also.
Wow, you paired those. Okay, nice.
I am disappointed, but it's cool. It's cool. We'll see what. It might be a while before. I just hope you don't have it. Actually, you're not going to have it, and you're not going to be able to destroy that base for a minute. So that'll be cool. But yeah, you made the right buy there. And to your point, where that all came from, really had to do with playing Magic. We talked about it occasionally. People know I would mention Magic on the cast, and it really was one of the most fun things about Magic was this idea of being able to pair new sets with these legacy cards and then find some really weird way to have an infinite combo or some game-breaking kind of situation. And I think I would always contemplate that when we would get something and I would be like, what happens when you get the Stealth Needle plus this card and now this feels super duper broken? I know for a fact, of course, the White Wizard guys for sure thought that through, and we've talked a lot about the quality of the balance of the game. I think things have shifted a little bit, not to denigrate the design of the game. I still think it's exceptional, but certainly there's a lot more going on, and it's going to be interesting to see. Oh, look at this long-lived base.
In the era now, and you brought up unicorns here a little bit ago. In the era of unicorns, do we even care now about what's going to possibly pair with a Stealth Needle? I mean, is there anything that's going to be, let's say you pair a Colossus on a Stealth Needle somehow, like turn 3. Is that any more broken than a unicorn win? I mean, I think now anything kind of goes, right?
Yeah, I have to say I don't have a lot of time chasing unicorns, period. I am going to buy this for the late game. Just so I can explain that move. Because I have an idea what you're going to be doing next. Yes. Show me the money. Oh, what? Look at this nonsense.
Yeah, I think I'm good in resource. I don't know if I needed that call. I mean, it is a post, and it protects the station. I get it, or the office rather.
Well, you're gonna hate this. Bang.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Unfortunately, I gotta abandon that the barter world. But yeah, I think coming back to the point about just trying to figure out what combos are cool. I think you're right. What pairs with Stealth Needle matters less under certain formats. But for sure, it's just the way my brain works. Star Realms tickles my brain in a very interesting way that makes me think about the puzzles of how these cards interoperate with each other. I think we talked about maybe one time or another before about this idea of having like your brain actually. Just one. Okay. Having your brain sort of operate a certain way, and constantly having in your mind this idea of Star Realms puzzles going on in the background. I don't know. Do you ever have that experience? Yeah, I got everything.
So I think kind of what you're bordering on is something that I've thought a lot about over the last couple of years, and I was never quite able to put an article behind it. And me and Hypaspis, me and Ryan on episode 1 talked a good amount about conscious versus unconscious play, and that your brain is just trying, oh no, I'm not going to be able to kill it.
I love that news. Haven't just ended my turn.
And it's interesting, we didn't talk about that aspect, but how in just the back of your mind, and I liken this, one of the first games that I ever got truly addicted to was Tetris. And I thought I was the only crazy kid that would be reading my school books and be seeing blocks falling right down through the words on the page. And then I heard that was a thing, and other people were experiencing that, and I'm like, this is weird. My brain is doing something weird. It's absorbing. And I mean, I didn't think that at the time. I was like, 11? But from thinking about it and researching and watching some brain science documentaries, I realized that's exactly what my brain was doing, and that's what you're talking about. And I was excited to find out that Ryan was even playing with Clever Missy, with Jen, some high volume exercise your unconscious play type exercises where they were just pounding 40 challenges at a time at each other and playing them as quick as they could, specifically going on autopilot.
It's really interesting that you say that, and man, I'm gonna dark lighter you here. I felt the same way. So I studied computer science in college, and whenever I had a really difficult engineering problem, I would have a bug in my code and I couldn't think about it. I would just play. I have a feeling I'm going to have a big old mess of discard going on here, but I would just play Tetris, and it would occupy like the anxiety part of my brain, and it would let my logical brain operate a little bit more. And that made a huge difference. And I'm not going to lie that there's a lot, really. Well, I'm sorry to say, Cutter, you're losing the first match.
Look at my hand, though.
Look at my hand. My hand's pretty good too. All right. Well, let's not miss an opportunity to overkill you. Damn it! I probably should have done that slightly differently. Let's say I want that, and let's do that. Oh yeah, I know. I have an ability that can destroy the base. Use combat so that we can get rid of the central office the right way. That's not going to work. I don't really have a whole lot going on here. I'm not going to spend too much time overkilling you here, but good on you. GG for this first one, my friend.
Yeah, I thought I was feeling good after that freighter central office grab, and you just turned it around. Very nice.
Yeah, let's not miss the chance to bust that paddle blob. All right, oh, killers. That's great. You got that one. You can challenge me back in any format, and basically, if you hit me with anything but the core sets, you're at an advantage.
No, we're gonna actually send that back as a best of 3.
Oh, all right. It's like old school casual Sundays.
So you mentioned Rick a little bit ago. Rick is just destroying me so far on my sort of return here to the competitive play. He's 2-0 on me in dodgeball, and he's got one on me here in this challenge that Ashton Sable set up. Of course, in the first wave, pretty much everyone got me there. But yeah, really enjoying the new rendition of the cast. Rick is doing great. He is such a workhorse in addition to all the cast. I understand he's running tournaments, he's streaming, really, really killing it for the community. How's that going for you?
Well, it's super fun, and we want you to come back on and come back on an episode at some point in the future when it makes sense. We're going to be getting pretty close to episode 100 here soon. So
wow, nice.
Maybe we'll do a big old reunion around that time. But you're dead on with regards to Rick. I think Star Realms is a really great game. It scratches a certain itch in my brain, like I was talking about before. But to be honest, it's really the people who have made the game what it is, and people like Rick who run those tournaments and create the fun. There's just so many people who do a lot of these fun things, and man, I love how you left me the survey ship. Like, it's such a tasty.
No, listen. Did you see what I had to do? It was the debate we had. I mean, I don't think it was a debate. It was more just a dilemma that you and I faced. Like, if you are sitting with 4 and it's the only possible buy, what is the right call? 2 explorers or the survey ship? I mean, are you in the same dilemma?
No. See, I have 3. So
okay.
I did the old classic 3 and 3. But looking at this board, I think you probably made the right choice, because there's basically everything but the survey ship is expensive. So I think you'll set yourself up for the long game. But I'm a sucker. I'll take that survey ship. And but yeah, no, there's countless combinations here, and we really like to get a chance to talk about those things. Oh, well, I guess I know what you're buying now.
Full rack. It never caught on, but that's a full rack, guys.
Dude, I thought we put the full rack. I thought we put the full rack in the glossary. But Rick's running tournaments. Rick's on the cast. Rick is updating the glossary. Rick is adding articles to the Megahaulin blog. He is just a force, and it's not just that he's a great guy in the community, but he's also just a great player on top of all this other stuff. There's got to be something that we don't know about this guy.
With a very full plate at home.
Oh man, I'm just like in your grill here, Matt.
And people are always very gracious. I always got, thank yous and a lot of credit for, I think, what people thought was more work than it was. What I did was a lot of delegating. And what Rick is doing is a lot of hands-on. And at some point, I of course will be asking him to join me on Just Scrappin as well.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. I think you'll have a great time with him. But we didn't even mention he's actually streaming his own channel.
I've been watching that. I've been enjoying that as well. He has a really nice thing going with Andrew Potosniak, with Taraziel. And they're both running arena races, and they are also reviewing. People are sending in game footage, which is pretty awesome. That's been a lot of fun. They've got a nice little niche going.
I think so. And it actually, speaking more broadly, it's just been really awesome to see more people producing content around Star Realms, and it's taken a while. And you were there while it was great, because what the folks listening to the podcast never got to hear was all of my bonkers, crazy ideas that you had to listen to and sort of talk me off of the ledge. You may remember a pretty dumb Christmas song I made.
That's
you remember this?
That's the only one that I kind of had to outright veto.
It was
politely.
So we could tell people about that. I teach and perform improv when in the before times, and one of the things that I like to do is musical improv, which basically means you're making up a song on the spot. And guess what? When you get to edit, rehearse, write, and redo, you end up getting better results. But one of the things that's so tricky about it is you're doing it on the fly. So I recorded I think it was like a blob. I don't think I have this file, and I think you'll be happy with that. But I recorded this like Christmas from the Blobs thing where I did like a blob sounding voice, what I thought a blob sounding voice was. And I said, hey, Matt, I thought I was so cool. Matt, check out my cool thing. And you're like, I'm not going to lie. This is pretty bad.
I was like, well,
I think you made the right call.
We can run with it and see how it goes. Like the enthusiasm. And here's the thing. Your enthusiasm was always freaking awesome. And like, that's what kept us, I think, so popular. But truth be told, I mean, you had a lot of good ideas too. You know, I'm sort of, we're going to hope to grow this on YouTube. And I recently explored the YouTube space a little bit. And you were good several times about coming to me and saying, listen, YouTube's it's not a market being used. It's just a whole nother audience. And I'd always say, well, I'm willing to put us on there. I understand that it's people that aren't going to catch us necessarily on Stitcher or wherever people are. But it felt like if we weren't going to pop graphics up of cards we're discussing or some effort to add that, I was like, well, you know, I wasn't enthusiastic about it. But you recognize that was absolutely a thing. And it still to this day, there's very little on YouTube Star Realms wise, except for some obviously some old reviews, some single playthroughs, some old streams. And it remains pretty barren. Obviously Ori's stuff is, you know, Skeleton versus Viper is in a league of its own.
I agree. Ori's incredible. I don't understand how you passed the turn and didn't take the cutter. And not more than that, I want to point out, not only that, you took the Imperial Fighter over the cutter. Explain yourself.
Did I have two? Did I miss? Was I just thinking too much about what I was saying and just spaced my play entirely? Is that what happened?
I'm looking at your discard pile, and you have 2 Scouts, a Viper, and now you have an Imperial Fighter and a space station.
Oh yeah.
I think, you know, well, I've already got a win in the bag, so I'm gonna make you regret that choice with my Stealth Needle. I don't know if you saw I bought that also, by the way.
I'll take my chances here. We'll kind of see. I was kind of hoping for a little more to be in the row here for our carrier.
Lish, you deserve it for taking the blob carrier. That's my least favorite card. It's the card that pays off the least frequently.
So
at least for my...
that is absolutely something that you have held consistently through time, and you're confirming now that you still hold it.
Yep. Enjoy one more turn with your Mech World, which is not something you get to say very often. But yeah, I think that's been my feeling. But you were on you made a really good point there that I want to come back to, and I started talking about different things that people have done and are doing, and you know, we're not the only. Megahaulin isn't even the only podcast now. You know, there's a new podcast on YouTube. I think you probably had a chance to look at. Oh man, you're just suffering tonight. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I've caught a couple episodes of Dreadcutter. Yep.
And Dreadcutter, I don't know those guys, excuse me, all that well. But I'm absolutely supportive of anyone and everyone adding more great content to the game, because it's never going to be full. We always have room for more, and we're always excited. We're always excited to see, you know, what people are up to. So I'm super thrilled. And then of course now we have just Scrappin, and we talked about the different streams earlier. Um, I feel like you and I were both on the very early cusp of this Star Realms content creation. In fact, I think you might remember, I think I will assert this bravely, that I was actually the very first streamer for this game. And that's not much of a brag, to be honest, because I didn't keep doing the stream, but that was because people weren't watching. And I don't think that I think that was one of those weird cases of, one, I didn't know enough at the time about how to create a good channel. Two, the tools were not super easy. We're talking 2014, folks, right? Twitch wasn't the thing it is. And then three, I was doing the podcast, which at the beginning was weekly. You know, now we've kind of gone back to bi-weekly, but we were doing it every single week, you and I, and so I couldn't maintain consistency. And I think that's the thing that you need the most. So, you know, I think I'm really stoked and happy that that we have a lot more people kind of making content, and I'm glad. It just kind of helps keep this game vibrant, you know.
Yeah, in fact, it's getting even busy here in the streaming space. We're at a point now where we're having to sort of politely butt up against each other, or choose to actually build on each other and stream back to back, where someone can toss in the audience with a raid. You know, I know just today, me and Rob Doherty are streamed. Obviously, here we are, and he streamed earlier. He's doing a weekly. I'm sorry, that was yesterday on Wednesdays. Yesterday, but I've had a couple streamers, both Dusto and Bryce Stupid, do streams here before just scrapping, and then send a raid in, that kind of thing. You said Rick and Andrew are streaming. I mentioned Brian. And you said, yeah, so Ryan Bakata Rockstar doing the Dread Cutter, he was streaming for a while. I don't know if he still is or not. And of course, yes, I agree. You were I think the first to do it. I think the person that gets the credit for doing it first is Bax, because Bax stepped in and he carved out a really nice little niche by doing it really well, and took it seriously.
That was exactly what I was going to say. It didn't look like anybody was interested in watching people play Star Realms until Bax. And I remember meeting him at White Wizard Game Fair, and I could tell that Bax was onto something, and more to the point, too, he was having fun. And that's really what this has always been about. I mean, it takes a while, and it's a fair amount of effort to put together a podcast. You know how much work it is to put together a stream like this. It takes a lot of work, and it's nice to know that people are appreciative of it. But nevertheless, there's still the work when it comes back the next time, and it's time to do another cast or edit a video, or book somebody to join you and walk them through all the details. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of love that goes into it, and for the most part, it's not something that you're making money at. In fact, I don't know of anybody who's making money off of streaming Star Wars. Some people are, and good for them, but I'm not one of them. And you and I have been making content for Star Realms since 2014. So
and it's interesting. It is tough now, because what has happened is all the people that were still kind of novice players or just starting to get their feet wet in competitive Star Realms, while we were just kind of getting up and running in the early and mid days, they're experienced now. They're very good. Some of them are just objectively have passed you and I. And
right.
coming up with content for experienced players is more difficult than going through content for people that are kind of experiencing the topic as we're learning it, or as we're getting new cards for the first time. And I really see that. I mean, I play some of these events now, and they're so elaborate, and they involve so many people, and they're so good. Everybody is so good now. I mean, it's the field the field of people that have stayed with it, that have kept in it for what's now 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very experienced play group now.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're thrilled. I mean, I'm thrilled that they're still doing it. I have 3 chances to kill you this turn, so let's see if I can pull it off.
3 chances?
Yep. All I need is 1 more damage and 3 pulls. Sorry, Bronito. I got you again. But now let's see.
I'm watching my replay real quick here. I'll see yours. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a lot of sick damage. I was feeling good having you in the teens, man.
This is just beginner's luck.
Well,
but it's really exciting that people are still, having fun making content. The game's still growing. There's new things that we're still learning. That's the one big thing, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about players like Bri is Stupid and players like Darklighter, just to name a few. People who are actually students of the game, and they're learning new and interesting things that we can all grow from. The problem for players like me is that Rick and Brian and Alderaan and all those guys, their brains work way faster than I can understand them. So what ends up happening is they're already like 3 levels beyond me and probably frustrated where I'm like, but why don't I buy this thing? And I'm just trying to play catch up. So, I get snap. Oh, this is going to be the one where you take me down because I'm going to be honest. I played a ridiculous amount of Colony Wars in the past 2 months. And as hubris, I am sure I would be made to pay for it.
So first, Dustin's being very modest. Dustin has generally taken the stance that I was sort of the subject matter expert of the pair of us. Yet, Dustin has had a higher win percentage than me the whole time. The entire time. And,
well, I have a small sample size than you.
Well, I'll bet it's enough that we accept it as you're a 60% plus player. Correct?
Well, I sucked for a while, so let me look at it now. Okay, so my stats as of today, as of this last couple games, thank you, by the way, for helping pad my win percentage. Lifetime total games in the app, and I'll explain this because people might be disappointed for somebody who's been playing this game since 2014. 6,011. And of that, I've won 35-59 games for a win percentage lifetime of 59.21.
Okay.
So I've fallen off once they put in the change in the app that rounded down. I think I was probably floating at 59.6, 7, and 8. But then when they added the additional place value on the integer, made it a float instead of an integer number, I got rounded down to 59 something, and I've been fighting to get it back up. In fact, for a little while, I was fighting to keep it at 59. But I think you were playing the game before there were actively students of the game. And I think you were one of the people that helped increase the understanding such that you're having such success now. So whatever your win percentage is now, I'm sure that it's been on the rise and will continue to go higher.
It's very strange. One of the things that we wanted to establish very early in the cast about this game is that people used to achieving, a best of 3 or more ratio with their friends in other games are going to be a little disappointed here to find out that if you are leveling at all, you are an above average player. And if you're at 59, that makes you a significantly better than average, a very, very good player.
Well, thank you. I don't feel like that when Silent Owl takes my lunch, or Seabus Ripper, or Alderaan, or Bri Stupid, or any of the guys in the top 10 just punch me in the mouth and take my lunch.
And you are you're referring to guys with percentages that do exceed both of ours.
Yeah, even better than above average for sure. You know, it's really interesting to hear you say that because it makes me, yeah, you better take that. It makes me think, you know, in a way, Star Realms is a form of golf for the mind, where the course is always, the rules are consistent, and the course is recognizable, but it's always a little bit different, and you have to navigate how to get through things. And there's just sometimes you're going to double bogey no matter how hard you fight to resist it.
I'm going to throw those clubs right in the lake.
Well, gee, why the hell did I buy this command center if I don't have any yellow bases? I don't love this buy, but I'll do it.
Really? I'm a fan.
It's fine. I mean, I don't like the fact that it's got to be in your hand because I never seem to have a scout in my hand when I want to scrap something.
So I mentioned the early days. You have also been re-releasing Megahaulin Classics. And I'll be honest, I've been excited about that, and I've listened to each one. And part of it is just I want to kind of hear how we came off, how we addressed something, and whether it still holds up. And I'm proud to say, man, I think we hold up fairly well.
I agree 100%, Matt. And I don't know that I actually, well, I must have told the story about why Megahaulin Classics needed to be a thing. But yeah, I mean, for folks who have never heard the cast or don't know anything about that project, the beginning of the Megahaulin music was pretty iconic, and I spent a lot of time thinking about what it ought to be, and it was the beginning of space trucking. And if you'll remember, it was
it's deep purple, right?
Deep Purple Space Truckin'. Freaking awesome song. And, you know, this is Megahaulin. The podcast is Megahaulin, and it's a great card. It's Space Truckin'. It all made perfect sense. The only thing that didn't make sense is the risk of using unlicensed copywritten music. And I wanted to try to get us onto other platforms like Spotify so other people could find it and learn about Star Realms, learn about the Greek community, and maybe learn a couple of things from the game. And I knew there's no way I could post it onto those platforms because a lot of them have automatic copyright processing. What that means is when you try to upload the file, it will run a scan and it does an audio fingerprinting and then compares it against an existing database of references. And if a song turns up there, you're hosed. They just won't let you post it. And that's how it works on SoundCloud. And that's what they've done as platforms to limit their liabilities for people who are using copyrighted music. Twitch has a very interesting solution for this. And I'll explain why I know this and what's my job and why would I even know this a little bit after a minute. Ooh, look at this. We had to basically make a decision. Take down all of the episodes that had that kick-ass intro and not be able to post them anywhere. Or another option was, hey, why don't we find the folks from Deep Purple and see if they'll let us use it in our podcast. That was not financially viable, especially not for a project that, you know, roughly cost me $100 a month to run. So yeah, it wasn't feasible to do that. So it meant that those old ones had to come down. I had to change it and find a new song, which the current song that you guys hear in the Megahaulin Classics or in the regular episode, that one is one that I paid for the right to use as part of a podcast, so I can include it and use it anywhere.
Nice.
And so slowly I've been bleeding them back out. And I have to say, you know, the one interesting side effect is exactly what you're talking about. Listening to my own dumb voice, the very first episode where I was just a guy talking, Matt, I felt really dumb. Felt like, you know, I had learned a lot in that point in time since then, but it didn't really feel like, a lot had changed. But then I started thinking about the first episode that you came on, when you became the actual co-host, our coverage of things. You know, I remember Chris Shaner hitting level 50 and us thinking that, oh my God, you know, level 50, you know, who would ever think we would get to level 100 in this game? And yet now here we've got guys that are way past that. So it's been really fun to go back and listen to those. And I've gotten some great emails from people who have said that they've appreciated those as well. So again, you know, it's all a labor of love. And if folks are enjoying it, that makes me happy. And we'll keep doing them. We'll keep doing them until I finish, and then you know, we'll keep grinding and kind of going forward as long as people care to listen and find it interesting.
So you did kind of reference it, and we did tease it at the beginning of the show. Let's tell everyone a little bit about what you do. You know, I know, honestly, I don't know as much. I mean, I remember when you got this job, I remember it was exciting, and I remember you traveling for it, and it seems like you've traveled a lot for it since. But I'm curious myself. Tell me, let's hear about it.
Yeah, let's see. So I am a product manager, and I work at PlayStation. You bought that bacon?
I did.
Sorry, I ruined my own introduction. Aha! Finally, vengeance will not be mine. But I'm a product manager at PlayStation. I've been there for, I guess, I've been there since 2016. So that would have put that. I started there 2 years into the history of Megahaulin. And I've done a number of different things. One of the things I was a product manager for was the PlayStation Plus product, which is the multiplayer membership service that gets you free games and discounts on games, and also allows you to access the multiplayer network. And I have shifted jobs internally there, and now I'm actually responsible for what we refer to internally as user-generated content. So I'm the product manager responsible for the share feature on PlayStation 4, the capture and recording features, as well as the broadcasting features. So if you were in any way, shape, or form ever interested in creating this broadcast from a PlayStation, you would be using features and functions that I helped to build and define.
That's interesting. So yeah, I hear user created, and I'm thinking things like in game. It's going much further than that. You're talking about a much wider scope of things like streaming, things like other types of content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, it includes image shares. For example, you can post videos to YouTube directly from your console. You can edit them. You can do advanced editing features in some of the prosumer application things that we have. But yeah, but basically all of those experiences are what I'm responsible for now. And a lot of people use those things. You know, PlayStation 4 has been a very, very successful platform. And you know, I'm really excited about the job. I find that it naturally fits with things that I'm already interested in, which is really cool. It's one of the reasons why I wanted this job was because of the fact that I already was a creator. I was already making videos and podcasts and things like that. And you won't be surprised to know that I even do some interviews internally of our company leadership, and in different situations. It's just sort of a natural thing that I enjoy doing, and it shows up in everywhere I go, it seems.
So, I mean, obviously a very cool job to have. Probably feels, I mean, in terms of gaming, it's somewhat high profile. So what are some of the exciting things that are going on at the moment that you are allowed to tell us?
I'm allowed to tell you that I'm going to buy the Leviathan next turn until you scrap it.
I'll tell you what, I debated even taking the Swarmer because it puts me in 4 colors, and I'm usually pretty vigilant about that. But here in Colony Wars specifically, you need a puncher, or they're gonna take that Leviathan. They're gonna take that Emperor's Dreadnought. They're gonna even the little Bacons if you don't want them. But yeah, I was glad to have it there.
Yeah, I to be honest, I found in Colony Wars in particular, Swarmer is almost an absolute must buy, especially if you're playing like this in a pure Colony Wars base set. What is going on here?
We're gonna give you one. I'm actually not gonna load my deck up with a third. I mean, I really was looking at yellow, and I don't have my scrap game. I mean,
But what it does is it lets you assert trade road control, and it punches. It'll clear out bases. And look at this crap you've left me. Right? Yeah, so it's doing exactly the thing that I appreciate, and I punished a lot of people when I was spending all of my time on those Colony Wars games. Hey, look, I've got 8, and there's nothing interesting to buy. I'll take Central Station for 4. Oh, look at that, 3 orbital platforms. That's like platform shoes plus. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of trade road control, especially since the skip the top deck and come to hand, directly to hand cards like Colony Ship and Emperor's Dreadnought and all these goobers that just jump right into your hand. I love taking those right away from people. Battle Screecher probably should be a tattoo that I should get. Look at all this crazy stuff that you're doing. Now you went too far.
Yeah, now I'm worried you're gonna get that Peacekeeper.
Yeah, but you got me. You just cut half of my health pool.
That's true. That's true. That was a fair hit. That was a healthy hit.
I think you're still on pace. But yeah, in terms of things that I'm excited about. So yeah, of course, I am not able to really talk about my current project. But I can say that I'm super stoked about what I'm doing, having a lot of fun, and I can't wait. Richie Muniak, do you remember him?
Absolutely, tie-dyed guy.
Tie-dyed guy. He's a huge PlayStation fan, so he's constantly on me to give him information details. And
I just didn't grab the Peacekeeper. I just bought the RAM by weird habit, and while you were talking, I was listening. I just want to acknowledge that was a play mistake.
That's okay. I'm lulling you to sleep.
So sorry. Go ahead, Richie.
Yeah. So no, Richie and I talk a lot, and he's a really interesting dude.
He is.
For lots of reasons. But he's a big fan of PlayStation, and he's always got a lot of questions. But yeah, I don't get entrusted with interesting information. So this is a weird hand, but watch this. I already have the 2 orbital platforms in my hand. Oof. Uh-oh. Tempting fate here.
I'm trying to remember the last time, if ever, I saw all 3 in play, and one wasn't a stealth.
Well, there you go, baby.
That is crazy.
Of course, you'll clear them all out. I have a feeling. Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. Oh, Bacon, I hate you. Everyone hates the Bacon unless it's in their hand. Oh, no, you can get 2 of them. Nice.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of getting to meet Richie not at Origins last year. He didn't attend Origins, but I stayed with Patrick Compton, good friend, original page member and longtime admin. And he happens to live close by now and game with Richie. And he was nice enough to swing by the house that I stayed there, and it was great. I don't want to say great. We had met him actually at White Wizard Game Fair 2, was it? Or was he at both?
Yeah. So he was the guy who brought me the Coker Lives shirt. If you'll remember that whole fiasco.
Yeah.
And I said, if somebody shows up to White Wizard Game Fair with a Coker Lives shirt, I'll wear it. And he did, and I did, and it was it was a really fun weekend.
So just, White Wizard Game Fair, some of the warm fuzzies that I think back to with the cast. That first White Wizard Game Fair, there were several people that came up to us and introduced and said, hey, I wouldn't be here less your show, and I'm inspired by the game and want to get better. I'm thinking of a couple people in particular, Dave Logvin, Birdlaw. We met through the cast, and also Adam Charbonneau, Ambroser. When you start something like that, you think, okay, this is neat. We'll provide some stuff to some people that are interested in the stuff we're into. But where it really did start to feel like, holy crap, this is affecting people and this is reaching people is those moments. Having someone say, I took the trouble to come here because you guys compelled me to. And that is definitely one. Do you have one maybe that you want to share at all?
Wow. To be honest, Matt, there's been a lot of those where I get email and people are like, I'm just a big fan and really appreciate what you're doing. And I hope it didn't sound like complaining earlier when I was talking about the amount of effort that goes into getting things together. But in truth, it is a fair amount of work. And to be honest, when people acknowledge that and they give you the kudos, and you know that they're actually listening. I mean, I think it's just a human thing. We want to make contact. We want to know that we're impacting people in a positive way. And so anytime that type of feedback comes back, it's really powerful. And it was really kind of weird going into White Wizard Game Fair in a couple of those cases, because I'm just a regular guy who likes the game just like everybody else. And I also just happen to be now one of several guys who are doing podcasts on this topic. At the time, it might have seemed like a different type of thing, but for me, it's always just been, I'm just a player and I'm trying to learn just like everybody else. I make knucklehead plays all the time. I've cut back a lot on my competitive play, aside from just challenges and just from playing in the open ladder. But I really do enjoy the game, and so I can't pull one off the top of my mind. But I do remember meeting Birdlaw and Ambroser. I remember when Ambroser won, at White Wizard Game Fair. I remember, playing all those games. I just remember a fun sense of hanging out with cool people, and I miss that. And not just because of the quarantining and shelter in place, which is not in effect for everybody the same way, but just as a place, you will remember this. And I love that there's all these things that only you know about, my crazy nonsense. But you may remember, do you remember what I was saying? Would you travel for a Star Realms event way before White Wizard Game Fair was a thing?
Yes. So Dustin had this idea that conventions are great, but conventions do have their certain pros and cons, and come to find out that I think it was like TJ during Gen Cons was just a haul away, but he was playing minis or something, so we didn't get to meet him. And you had this idea, what if we set something that's, and it feels naive to say it now, but centrally located, I mean, now being so international, but your idea was good. It was, let's set something up where Star Realms people in particular, we can do our own little meetup that effectively would be like a mini Star Realms community con. And yeah, you talked about it, and then that is what White Wizard Games was sort of able to create. And I miss those. They were great, but I think the issue was they reached the people that effectively had already been reached, and we loved every minute of it. And especially the second year, once they were competing with another major con that wasn't that far away, it just didn't get too many eyes, too many new prospective eyes.
Yeah, great point. And it's expensive. I mean, I've had many lives that I could talk about if it becomes in any way, shape, or form interesting for this convo. But I have put on big events like that. And when you rent out the hotel, even for a place in Framingham, thank you for scrapping the Dreadnought.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
It couldn't have cost them less than really. It couldn't have cost them less than 10 or 15K to put that event on, even in Framingham. And I do agree. It was a little bit of a challenge. So I do not begrudge. But I do wish that we had that back, and I feel like we've got such an awesome community of people. Like we've got to be able to find a way to bring that back, and so maybe it'll be something to think about. But some of my overall best memories around Star Realms took place there. I remember when Bax and I got roped into announcing the semifinals of the Legend.
Yeah, that was great.
Where Baby Girl was pulled off like a discard 4 or discard 3, and we were just like going bonkers and having a great time. Darklighter, we mentioned him earlier when he was in that epic Hero Realms match to be the first Hero Realms Legend, which he did not. Well, did he win? Yeah, he did win that one, didn't he?
Well, I want to say the first Hero Realms Legend was Julian Sherlin.
No, you're right. Julie, that's right. Jay Sherlin. He was definitely the first. And I remember that. But I remember that game went on for like 3 hours. And we all went out and just hanging out and eating with everybody. It's cool to be part of a community.
So you're thinking of the second. Yeah, you're talking the second year. And I do remember now. I got taken out in top 8 by a Benjotron.
That's right.
Very game Benjotron.
You were playing Epic at that time, if I remember, and trying to place.
So I did not do any competitive Star Realms that weekend except for the second year I didn't do any, but I did do Hero Realms, and I was able to 5-0 through Swiss, but then I just I don't think his name gets mentioned much anymore because I don't even know if he's playing anymore, but Benjotron is a problem.
So it's funny you say this. So going back through all these old episodes of the podcast, Benjotron was I think he was the very first guest I ever had on the podcast. I don't know if that sounds right to you, but oh yeah, baby, watch this crazy. Come at me, bro. I think you're going to finish me this next turn anyways, but I'm not against scrapping non-starters.
So the question is, which of those hot bases of yours do I want to copy with this stealth tower?
Obviously the Bioformer. That depends on what else you got, but...
I don't know why I'm scrapping anything in the row. I don't have any funds. I guess we do it just in case a bacon comes up, because then I could always copy. Yeah, I could copy scrap and get it.
Oh no! Oh, is that your hand? Oh, okay. Yikes! I have problems.
It's barely enough. It's barely enough.
Yes. Yeah. I thought you had another card, but like, what else would have happened? Is more damage.
Good game.
I'm playing 1, 2, 3 more bases. I tried to make the early pit to bases, but I didn't get enough to pull it off. So I will. You sir will see a rematch soon.
Yeah, I was just about to send it. Do you want me to? Oh, here it comes. Okay, sweet.
I fired it off. Yeah. Benjotron is a problem, and it was very interesting because I remember interviewing him, and I definitely felt like a super duper noob when I started the podcast. I felt like I had some ideas about the game. I had played a bunch of Magic. I had some ideas about velocity in the deck and how to consider a win condition, but I didn't understand what that meant with the combination of the trade road, the randomness, the shuffling that was required. And I will say, I've got 6,000 something games in the digital app, but I played a ridiculous amount of Star Realms in the analog version. Oh, jeez. Wait, what?
I took a supply bot.
Okay. Did I challenge you back vanilla? Okay, sorry.
That's all right. I heard rematch. I got the vanilla. I didn't say anything. I figured we'll just play it and we can come back.
Cool.
This gives me a chance to save some face in vanilla.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's hard not to buy the thing I know I'm supposed to buy. But I felt like an idiot interviewing Benjatron the first time because I could tell his brain was already like 3 or 4 clicks ahead of me and getting faster, and it didn't take much from. Oh, well, you deserve that. It did not take much for me to realize that he was going to be a top player, and he's still a top player, and he's just such a good player of this game, and I give him all the credit, and I don't think I've ever beat him, period, ever, like not one time, not even dumb luck.
So in grinding, I mean, I obviously faced him probably a lot more than you, and I'd say he probably got me. I'm probably subject to his 66%. He probably gets me about 2 out of 3. That said, I mean, I do have some good games against him. I have gotten some wins, but the thing that sticks out in my mind, I don't know if you remember the run he went on. I think he was trying to get the #1 spot just so he could get it before Damola sort of went through, and I think he could see that coming, and I remember he just went on this ridiculous run. I want to say he said he played something like over 1,200 games that month, and he was clipping in at like 73% or something. It was ridiculous.
Insane. It's not fair not to acknowledge that in some periods of time in this game where it's been discovered, there has been an influx of new players, and there is ripe feasting grounds, I guess is the best way to say it, because if you're playing for even back when we didn't have any expansions, even before, if you'll remember the Gambos expansion, all we had was vanilla. So as new people came in and they didn't know how to play, and you looked at their time in the app, which is really what level means to me, you'd be like, oh, this guy probably doesn't know not to do thing, and then there you have it. You'd be able to try to take advantage. Arg, matey, I be irritated. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm gonna bet against your ability to not pull a single Viper on this next turn, and I'm gonna try to give myself a chance to eliminate that command ship.
Well, you wagered correctly. I am sitting on 2 of them.
Yay!
And I think something we said back in the day here in core, even if I scrap that RAM, 5 is just the worst number to have. I mean, 5s have come a long way. There are some bomb 5s now. For sure.
And that Battle Mech is still really one of my favorite cards. I really, really like that card. But you are right to say that 5 has come a long way. The Parasite is ridiculous. Just the overall power creep of the game, it has me a little bit worried, which is why I spend so much time playing the core sets. But look at that.
Yeah, I think we'll upgrade.
I don't know. You might not get another chance. But the question is where? Which one?
Since that was my only green, I think it's going to be Dreadnought.
Yeah, makes sense. Oh, what did I do with my life? But yeah, I think I do think it's the game has kind of creeped up on the power scale, but no, it's still fun, and that's really all that matters. There's still cool puzzles to solve. and you've got 5 again. I dare you. He did it. He took the dare.
That was, before we had things like events and missions, people were so vigilant. Some people were so threatened and scared by big starts. And I think over time, as we've just seen the game evolve, I mean, imagine if we could have, as Gambits were coming out, if we had the foresight to know what was going to happen with things like events and missions and chaos and unicorns, you feel like what Wizard could have just said, all right, guys, slow your roll. Like, this game is still being defined, and this early pace is pretty slow. Like, get ready, because it's going to get so amped. Mm-hmm. And one thing we always come back to is something you have always held strong, and that is you self-govern your playset. And not only at home, but the customizing, the wide variance of play you're offered now, not just by sheer quantity of sets, but the play experience that you get. Missions, not missions. Gambits, not gambits. Chaos or no chaos at all. It's so custom now. Did you expect it to be this much so?
No, I mean, I thought they would have run out of steam on this game, and I'm glad they haven't. Let me be clear about that. But I never would have thought that the frontiers would have happened. Watch this controversial play. Yoink. Let me see. What are we gonna do? 3, 4. Sure. Need to catch up. Boom. Question is whether or not I need help to. No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine, or I won't be fine. We'll see. But no, I think, yes, controlling the house rules, if you will, of the game and the deck that you play with is basically where it's at. But I think what the expansions really have happen, not just that there's a rejuvenation of your interest or new puzzles to solve, kind of coming back to the earlier comment, but rather this idea that there are innovative and interesting ways to play the game, such that now I have a quandary. Such that you can create specialization. You could be an expert in one type or mode of the game, and you can really explore what it means to succeed within that individual context. And I don't think a lot of people are looking at it that way right now, but I hope that they do. And I would love to see players. When you look at Magic and people have certain type of deck builds that they're legendary for. Even Darwin and Rob, of course everybody plays the meta, and you're forced into that. But there are certain types of decks that they took into Magic Grand Prix and won and made famous, and certain cards and certain combos. And we only have a few of those right now, and I'm looking forward to seeing people discover more of those things. So I really feel like we're not anywhere near done with this game, and as long as White Wizard can continue to thrive, we can continue to see some really fun and awesome things.
Yeah, you make a great point. It's something I've been thinking a lot about lately, especially as two things have happened. Number one, I am participating in Dodgeball, which is like the original Endurance Challenge. It's differentials based, and what we have seen is, you're right, that beyond formatting, that is what you called a mode, or you could call it a genre. And in differentials based realms, your valuation, your entire scale, and not just card to card, but faction to faction. Where I'm a scrap and damage kind of guy, I'm looking at typically green and red by autopilot, consistency. over the course of tens of thousands of games.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not just a race, suddenly now, I've race-wise, I've almost written blue off since Colony Wars. But now I have to suddenly realize if I don't go blue, it doesn't matter if I win the race. Oh, well, I'm not going to win the race for one. Because they're going to be in the 40s or 50s even as I'm pounding them with damage. It's the whole thing sort of turns it on its side, and I felt it a little bit in endurance. But now that we're years in and we're more experienced, and things like dodgeball, it's very specific on what you need for differential in different contexts. And I think that observation you make, it totally fits there. It's not just Star Realms like we're used to. It's a complete change in how you play and your whole valuation system.
Agreed. And this one's going to be tough for me. Thanks for not calling attention to my misplay there earlier.
I'm just talking.
Oh, there was a definite misplay. This probably is going to be a misplay too, but it's all right. I'll live. But yeah, I mean, it's super fun, and what makes it more fun than not is the people. And we've said, you and I have both said that forever. Looks like this is the end. Oh, maybe not.
No.
Where's that dreadnought? Oh, you already punched me with it.
So another one, that I'm likening to a mode, if you're willing to commit hard enough, is what I'm really feeling out and exploring right now, and that is missions play. And there's, what I've kind of helped figure out is if you're still in damage mode and you're just looking at your missions as a something that can help you along, or maybe you'll stumble into it. They're nice, but what if you instead treat them like we just described, where you're changing your whole mindset and valuation to where missions is plan A, it does. It becomes just that. It's a whole different mode. And I'm learning that if you're willing to take that seriously and play it as such, it's a successful one. I'm on a pretty good heater with them. You indicated you don't have a ton of missions experience, so I haven't really brought up too much on this show, but that's another one that I think people are going to discover over time. Wow, I thought I had that one. Nice job.
Thank you.
If you do consider it a mode, a whole change over every decision that you make, it is just that, and there's a lot there.
Unicorn hunting and these other kind of permutations, they really just remind me of the different ways that you can play video games. And I don't think of Star Realms as a video game. I think of the app as the digital version and the best approximation, although I don't agree that it's the best, but it's a pretty good approximation, the official approximation. And unicorn hunting is like speedrunning in a way. And retro games have been kept alive just because people, one, want to set the high score, two, want to finish the game in the shortest amount of time. And all of these really great endurance modes and the different things that folks are running with the dodgeball leagues, keeping records. Like, that's the one thing that I love, that there's actually a history of competitive play. All of these things just kind of speak to what people find valuable, not just about this game, but about the people around it. And that's not something that you can fake. It's not something that can be faked at all. And it's the thing that keeps me involved at this point. I don't know that I'm getting better as a player. I don't know that I'm getting better as a player. I don't feel like I'm having as many sort of like big leaps forward, like, oh, that's a way I can think about these problems anymore. But maybe those are still in front of me. I'm not sure. Ooh, I like that repair bot. That's a Darklighter special. But overall, why can't I have the Ravager? But overall, it's still a lot of fun. But it still comes back to the people, man. That's why I miss the game fair so much. Some people think it's corny. But I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I loved getting to meet people. Loved hearing their stories. Loved hearing them say that they like the cast. Loved watching them succeed. Just play and having fun. I mean, this is a hobby. We got enough serious things in the world, kind of keeping us distracted. All right, I'm just going to invest and see.
No, I think you're dead on. I think, we anyone that goes to conventions with anything about they're passionate about, of course, always has good stories. But here, Star Realms, obviously, in our time that we're not spending at conventions and together, we can still see the passion and the devotion and the time and the games and everything that goes into it. And whether it's about the game or whether it's about active involvement, posting and taking part in things, going on around the group, like realms and tournaments and everything else. When you do then get to conventions, you have that underlying connection already, and just that couple days of contact, you feel like you're connecting all that together. You're giving people that understanding, and I don't know, man, it's weird. People that I've met at conventions have now stayed at my place. I mean, I just had the Yokums out. There's been others. I mean, they said I could say that. So, it's interesting what happens. And on top of that, we have heard consistently from our group how your hopes and expectations are always exceeded. There just don't seem to be experiences out there that people have that are negative, or we have to point at someone and be like, be weary. It just doesn't really exist. Our group is just innately easy to get along with, I guess.
Well, the other thing that I always found, that I really found super interesting, was not just how welcoming people are and how cool they are, but they come from all over the country or world in some cases. There's a pretty interesting spectrum of ages, but nobody cares. We're so busy talking about the game. Nobody's worried about, is this person younger? Is this person older? Is this person the same age as I am? Yeah, I mean, it's just... I miss it a lot. And the thing that I miss the most, I don't know if you remember, but at the second White Wizard Game Fair, it was a real big deal for people to get their mats, their play mats autographed. So a lot of people were placing in those $200 or $500, what was it? I guess maybe the $1,000 tournaments, the Star Realms tournaments. And once you got the top 8, you got one of the boxes, and usually it had a play mat in it, and you maybe got a promo. But there was the one that they made that was specifically for the game fair. And it is, I got mine signed by everybody that I could meet there. I asked everybody, and I had a Sharpie, and I asked some folks to ship it back, and they did ship it, but somehow it got swapped out.
So I do remember this. That totally sucked. Did that ever have a happy ending at all?
No, unfortunately it didn't. But, I'm a little bit consoled by the fact that, like, well, you know what, everybody actually did sign it. I did meet with those people. I did have those moments. I did get to play against them. And I did get to laugh with them. But yeah, I really wish I had that. I really wish I had that just as an artifact of that great experience. I have the memories. But those sometimes those tangible things that you attach the memories to really really kind of help the meaning kind of last a little bit longer. What am I gonna do? Why do you leave me all this garbage? What are you setting the table for here, Cutter? You're just waiting for me to buy the garbage.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of great stuff on my own yet, but so obviously we love Star Realms.
Yeah.
What else is Dustin Clingman playing at the moment?
Well, let's see. There are a couple things, and now I have to break it down depending on whether we're talking about console games, PC games, or analog games. And so I will give you an answer for each. Otherwise, on PC specifically, when I'm not playing Star Realms, which to be honest, I have not been playing a lot of Star Realms in the last week because I burned through, I think, 150 games in 1 week, and I just needed a break.
Sure.
And that helped me get over level 45, which is where I'm at now. And there's this weird phenomenon that happens where as soon as I level up, that's when all my luck runs out, and it's just nothing but beatdowns for like the next 15 games. But so I'm playing actually this indie game that's called Mixolumia, which I happened to see this guy on Twitter who was showing how he built the game. And I was like, man, this is like really dope. I want to check this out. Oh boy. And so yeah, so I played that, and you can think about this game as like being Tetris. But imagine if Tetris, instead of like having the normal Tetris pieces that you think of, imagine if they were all like a box, like the 4 box, the square. But instead of having like the, I'm trying to figure out how to draw this so you can.
Oh, I get it. They're all falling as 2x2s.
They're all falling as 2x2s.
Okay.
And instead of having like a vertical that they fall in, it's like a diamond. So they fall not only by 2x2s, but imagine if you rotated the 2x2s 45 degrees, so that it looks like a diamond.
Okay.
And you can still rotate the piece, and it still does like the match 3 and the cascading kind of lines. But I just thought this was really excellent, interesting to me. You scrapped that. You bought that. You hard paid for the plasma ball. Look at this stuff.
I was gonna leave it out there and wait for it, but you went into green. Specifically, you got that cargo pod, which is pretty good at snagging it.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I don't got a lot of good answers here. I'm gonna let you swarm me with yellow if you so desire.
No, we actually didn't end up going to. Well, oh wow, yeah. There's three barges in the row. What the? What's going on?
Well, I left them there for you to feast for. But that's the game I'm playing on PC, and it's actually proving to have the same effect as Tetris, what I mentioned earlier about focusing and sort of. I got a lot of very complicated problems at work, and that means I need to think about difficult choices that I'm making. So that game's helping a lot. Oh man.
I did leave you a keeper.
Yeah, you left me a keeper, but looks like what? How do they say the old lucks run out?
Can't get the keeper. Well, I was gonna say and can't kill the base, but you can kill the base at least.
Yes, and that I will do. What am I gonna do here? Oh, I hate this play. Oh, I hate that play too. But I do love all the cheap bases and the multi-base effects. Those are just addictive. Yes. You had the Peacekeeper last time. I do not like my chances this time. So then moving on into other games that I'm playing. On console, I'm still playing a lot of Overwatch. Even though Overwatch is over 3 years old, it's still got a lot, similar to Star Realms, it's still got a lot of interesting problems for me to solve. So I'm still playing a lot of that. In fact, I would say that game took me away from Star Realms a little bit when it came out because it fit more into my job. It directly connected into things that I was thinking about and doing regularly. And ultimately, it's a pretty good time. So I'm playing a lot of that. The Last of Us 2. All right, I'm all in. I'm going to see what happens here. I think this is a bad idea, but I'm already way behind the 8 ball here. So how bad can it get? I can only just lose. So I'm playing The Last of Us 2. I'm playing Ghost of Tsushima on PS4, and I'm also playing Overwatch. And then tabletop games, I'm not playing as much as you would think. to be honest.
It's it's a pandemic.
Well, that's all the more reason to do it, right? Hey, you think you're a tough guy? Watch this.
There you go.
You think you're not the only guy who can hard pay for cards that should be hard paid for. Okay. But yeah, so I haven't been able to do a whole lot of that off. But I have been wanting to get back into playing Dungeons and Dragons, and I used to play D&D all the time. I was a big D&D fan. In fact, I had a small company that published Dungeons and Dragons books.
Oh, wow.
Back in the early days of the 3rd edition for D&D, and I know we're on to 5th edition now. I know we're on to 5th edition now. Should I do that? What are we doing here? What are we even doing here, Matt? Why interrupt a series of bad decisions with a good decision? That's what I always say.
I think you
All
just.
right, I don't think that anything good happens for me here, but the Peacekeeper is just way too strong in this particular situation. But yeah, so I would really like to get back into D&D. That's it.
It looks like it's it.
But it's not. Oh well, I guess we'll wait till next turn. What are you gonna have?
And I guess I got to take out. Do I care about this base? I don't think I care about that base at all.
No, that's all face. That's all face. Crumble cakes. If only I had the Emperor's Dreadnought in play, where I could actually get him and do things with him.
So yeah, our face-to-face gaming has all but stopped as well. I mean, it's here we are. We're in September now, and it's I think we thought we'd be back to it by now.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we're all in our own little different situation geographically and culturally on what's going on. You talked about things, like improv. Are you able to do any of those things? Or has all of that... I guess I should actually ask. I remember you mentioned improv as something you did. I didn't touch back with you on... Is it something that up until the pandemic you were still doing? Or is your busyness with the job sort of had to put that on the back burner?
Well, strangely, I don't know if you remember, but there were a couple times in the last year or so I had actually posted from Japan saying that, hey, the podcast is coming back and I'm in Japan.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so... GG, sir.
Good game.
I think improv is something that I was teaching here in San Francisco, and I also was performing regularly. I was on a house team that performed a musical improv show. So I was teaching at least once a week. I was rehearsing with my team at least once a week, maybe more than one team. And it's really challenging to do that kind of stuff online. Zoom certainly makes it interesting, but look at how much work it was just to set up this kind of static scene for us. Doing something where people are moving very quickly in and out of a scene situation, it's really hard. So I have done, and I did perform in an event. Oh snap! Oh, you're going to punch me in my weak bones on the frontiers.
I wouldn't say I consider myself a fairly proficient Colony Wars player. I consider myself, okay along, I guess, with my play rate on Frontiers itself. Have you not played much Frontiers? Is that what I'm hearing?
I played a decent amount, but I haven't played it isolated from other sets. So that's the interesting thing. And when you look at the Colony Wars has a very unique flavor and a tempo when you play strictly with the Colony Wars deck. So I played Vanilla, I played Colony Wars, I played Vanilla Colony Wars, I played those two plus Frontiers, but I haven't played a lot of isolated Frontiers, and so I'm not super up to speed on what the tempo of this particular deck in isolation of others would be. So I think it'll be exciting to see what we get. Man, I got a lot. I got some tough decisions to make here. I think I got to do that. I'm trying to summon. I'm trying to summon the card valuations of Darklighter and remember what he taught us all.
And I'm sorry, I interrupted. So it sounds like you were definitely still very active up until the pandemic, huh?
For sure, yeah. And I had a class that got interrupted at about halfway point, and we just had to suspend all the classes from the school. And I did try to perform. Actually, not try, but did perform on a New York festival. What's this?
Oh, wow.
Nonsense?
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how I feel about this. If I'm usually going to take a Post-its early, it's usually going to be bigger than a 4, but I feel like it's just the right play.
Yikes! Now I have things to think. I have two difficult decisions to make. What's the butt on that thing? Okay, I guess this is not as hard a decision as I think it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was definitely fairly active and really enjoying it. I performed in the New York Musical Improv Festival online.
That's awesome.
And everybody did a very good job, but ugh, it was just it was tough. It was really challenging to make sure that we had what we needed, and again, it's also really hard to perform when you're listening to a musician who's playing in New York while you and your friends are in San Francisco. So I haven't done any more performing since then, but overall, I'm looking forward to getting back to it. So what I've shifted gears to do now instead, Matt, has actually been to go into sketch and to doing a lot of sketch.
Ah, nice. Very nice.
So that's what I've been doing. You, sir, deserve this.
Oh, nice. So live sketch is pretty interesting. I mean, I grew up, a big fan of what everyone thinks of, things like Saturday Night Live, things like In Living Color, and of course today still love stuff like Key and Peele.
Absolutely.
Now, live sketch, though, that's a whole different thing when you get there and realize the appreciation. I did have the pleasure of seeing Drew Carey travels with a sketch show. Are you familiar with the Midnight Show?
Yes, I am loosely. I have not seen it, but I have heard about it, and I would look forward to seeing it at some point.
And it was great. It was so much fun. And you accept the fact that because it's sketch, yes, it is something they've rehearsed, but what's cool is that means that they can sort of interchange out parts. Like Drew Carey, when he tours with these guys, he'll take part in a couple of sketches, they'll do their show, and then he'll do like a half hour of his stand-up after. And it's a really nice mix of getting all sorts of different experiences in one night. But that was my only experience with it live, and I loved it. I would totally go watch something like that again.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a different skill. Improv is a way of teaching your brain to be open, responsive, reactive. Sketch is premeditation, and stand-up in the same way is more akin to writing for sketch than it is to improv, even though they're performed very differently between the three of them. And okay, what'd you leave me? Give me back my son. Okay, this should sufficient. Oh, forgot that one. Whoops. Okay. Forgot that was a from hand. I thought I was about to try to scrap something from another place where one does not scrap things.
Yeah, and I think the initial reaction for that with a lot of people is they don't care for this thing. I've just learned to still accept that it is a real steal for 3. That's a hefty amount of damage, and I feel like, yes, I'm going to end up getting scrap about 55% of the time, I feel like, a little more than not. But it's become a staple for me. This, if I can get this in a convoy bot, I feel like I'm on the way to just scrapping and pounding.
For sure. I think, yeah. Ooh.
Can't quite get there. But nothing else in the rows looks really enticing. Well, I could get there if I don't care about this station. And I don't think I care about the station compared to the Nexus.
That's funny. What else we got over here?
I don't think I want the cluster. I think we're gonna let the resource go.
All right. Alrighty. What do you? Well, yeah. Let me see. Oh, 5E. 5's there. I know what you're thinking. This is a little challenging, sir. This is actually the hardest decision so far. But I think because of what I got, I'm doing this. So good luck to you, sir.
So since you have now explored, you mentioned 3 different types of comedy there. I mean, I don't want to say, are you thinking about? Obviously, it's something, if you've already. Have you written, have you thought about doing any actual standard stand-up?
I have, and I have, I've been working on what they call a Type 5. I don't know if you've heard about that, but it's amazing. I've given lectures and spoken at length for different situations and circumstances with no problem. But yes, thank you, sir.
Once I was that far in green, I actually decided to fold and take it.
Well, let me see.
The cluster, I mean.
I get it. Good old mobile market. I'm just everywhere. No decision feels like a good decision, but that might be good. Oh, back again. But yeah, I'm working on a Type 5, and I'm looking forward to having the chance to showcase that. And I mean, I don't know how it will go. I'm not committed to being an excellent stand-up. I don't really care about that. I would much rather be an excellent writer, and then practice my improv chops as the opportunities permit. Now this Destroyer Bot's going to do something for me, finally. And you will discard a card, sir. And what do I want to do? Look at this garbage. These red bases irritate me. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go for the authority there. But generally speaking, though, yeah, I'm interested in a post-tech career in entertainment and comedy, and I hope that something like that will make sense for me.
Now, something we haven't acknowledged at all tonight, it's actually the kickoff of the NFL season.
Boo, who cares about football?
And also just anyone finding this, for some reason much, much later, perhaps on YouTube. I mean, this is the kickoff to the Corona season of NFL football.
Does that mean there's beer?
There will be beer. So I know that yeah, football typically hasn't been your big forte, but I know that you are an enormous baseball fan, one of the biggest baseball fans that I know. Enough.
Can I explain why I'm not a football fan? It's not actually because I don't think the sport is a good one. It's a story of betrayal, Matt.
Okay, let me hear it.
Then we can talk about baseball. When I was a kid, I was born in Ohio, which is why I get along with all the Midwestern Star Roms players. I get along with everybody, but I grew up in Ohio, and and moved to Florida after a while. But my dad was the biggest Cleveland Browns fan, and he loved the Browns. He loved the Browns, and they basically took off in the middle of the night, abandoning the city of Cleveland to become the Baltimore Ravens. And it was like a betrayal for my dad of Brooklyn Dodger-esque proportions. So I took a not real oath and basically said, football sucks and I'm never going to watch it.
No, I don't have I did not become a really big football fan until I started playing fantasy in 2005, but I have heard that story a little bit. It's not like one would think where you hear about it a couple years ahead. They're working out a deal with the city. If I remember from the story, they kind of just took off in the night. Is that correct?
Who just leaves in the middle of the night? The Cleveland Browns. And of course, now they're back, but they're not back. The Browns moved to Baltimore. There's no undoing that, right? It's just all forms of grumble cakes. But that's why I don't like football. Not because it's not a great sport or I don't have respect for the incredible athleticism involved and the risk that those guys take, putting their body on the line every week. So yeah, I don't have anything but appreciation for them. But that's why, just so that we are on the same page.
So I think it's not a secret. I am a giant Packer fan. Grew up in Wisconsin. And I'm still looking forward, of course, to that this season. We'll be curious. I'm optimistic as much as I can that things are going to play out and we're going to get a good, fun season. I haven't been following baseball as much. I know that they've kind of had ups and downs here during this season. Remind me, your team is the Devil Rays? Actually, just the Rays now, right?
Yeah, they switched that name a few years back from the Devil Rays to the Rays. So because I live in San Francisco, I did not believe that it was any kind of betrayal to have a team in each league because the rules are slightly different. The style of baseball is different. So I root for the Giants here in San Francisco, and I'm coming into being a Giants fan at the perfect time, when they've already won their 3 World Series and now they're going to suck for another X number of years. But I will say, and then I root for the Rays. And the Rays are a great team because very similar to, in a lot of ways, the way that we're able to think about Star Realms. The Rays don't have the budget of the Yankees or the Red Sox, but they have to play in their division, and that means they have to be more creative, which means they analyze the players and they innovate on how to get the most value out of players that the rest of the market doesn't necessarily think are the best or particularly good. And the Rays have been exceptional at this, and they've really invented a lot of different things that are being adopted by more major league clubs these days. So they're not the inventors of the Moneyball concept if you ever saw that movie or read that book, but they are really the team that's done the most with the concept of looking at undervalued assets and getting a massive amount and being just super smart about how you treat your farm teams, and what you do from there. Oh man, what's the Scarbo?
No, that was the only comparison I had. I was gonna kind of ask you if I know that the A's, and I'm blanking on his name, got the credit not only through the movie but just with some success not long after they employed all that. So yeah, I get they're all looking at analytics. Nice job. How is what the Rays have done different in a way that the layperson like me could understand from what Billy Beane, is that his name? Is Moneyball?
Billy Beane was with the Oakland A's.
With Moneyball, right? Okay, yeah.
He was a GM, and he did quite a good job and good game, sir. I took a risk on that draw, knowing that I had 4 of 5 were value cards, and a couple of them were double ally, so it could pay off. So the Rays have been really smart with their farm teams, and they've done trades for undervalued assets. But one of the things that they do really well, and they did smartly, was as you know, an athlete's professional career is only as good as their body can continue to perform. And you think about sports that you and I are both fans of, like UFC, when your body starts to fail, you just can't get back in to survive. So there's a big risk in betting on the fact that you won't get injured. So one of the things that I like the most about what the Rays have done with their staff is that they will come to a player who's early in their career, who projects to be a really great player, and they'll offer them life-changing money, which is probably less than they would get if they stayed the course and went to free agency, but is enough that they don't have to worry about an injury cutting them off early before they ever get to that good money. So they might take a pitcher who over his career, if stayed healthy and met his potential, might make 60 or 70 or 80 million dollars in a combination of multiple free agent contracts. And they'll say, you know what, we're going to sign you for 7 years and we're going to offer you $28 million today. And you can take that now, and your family and your grandchildren and your grandchildren's children are set for life, or you can just see how it goes. And there's lots of stories of people who get hurt and they can't get picked up, or their careers end early. So a lot of these guys take those contracts because it's a lot of money, and you and I probably would take them too.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So they manage the future in terms of their payroll as it grows very, very smartly. The other thing that they do is they constantly analyze the game, which is, again, one of the things I love the most about Star Realms. They constantly analyze for what are the places where they can make a little optimization that the rest of the league might not be taking into effect. And one of the things that they did a couple of years ago was this idea of the opener. Now, I know even a casual baseball fan will know about the closer, Mariano Rivera, right? You know, he's the great Yankees closer. The guy that comes in the ninth inning when the chips are down and we need a strikeout, or we need to just get this guy out. And you're familiar with that. Well, what the Rays did was they analyzed and found that.
Rivera's obviously a great closer, but Eric Gagne, that's I remember that run. That was a closer.
I get it, and you're right. So what the Rays did was they analyzed a lot of games, and they found that there's this thing called the third time through the order penalty, which means in a given game, the third time the batting team starts to see the pitches that this guy has in his arsenal, they start picking up better. And these are the best athletes, the best batters in the world, the best guys at hitting a fast ball with a stick in the world. So they start to adjust to this guy. And there's this penalty where if the guy has to go a third time through the order, even if he's a great pitcher, he's susceptible to making a mistake that the other team can capitalize on. And so naturally what you do is you let the guy hit a certain pitch count, and then you rotate him out, you bring in a reliever. It's a fresh arm. It's a guy they haven't seen. And maybe you've got a handedness advantage of the pitcher versus this next set of batters. Well, what the Rays said was like, you know what? What if we took that guy who would normally come in the seventh inning, and we just started him off? And we let him pitch like 2 or 3 innings, depending on how it goes. And then we bring in the guy who's designed to finish the game. And so they reversed the positions of these players, and they invented this thing called the opener. So they have a guy who comes in, and he might pitch 1 inning if he sucks. He might do 2. Maybe he'll do 3. And then the stronger workhorse arms, the guys who are stretched out and used to throwing longer into games, come in, and then they take over the game. And that's an example, a near-term example of an innovation that the Rays led. And everybody was kind of laughing at them and thought it was weird. But now more teams were starting to do it as of last season. With this COVID-shortened season, I'll be honest, I've been so busy with work, I haven't been paying as much attention. But that's an example of the kind of innovation where it's just they think about the world differently. And it relates so similarly to Star Realms to me. When you can look at this game, Star Realms, a slightly different way, you can see something that nobody else can see. And for a little while, good players can take advantage of those things.
I think it's awesome that you're not the only person to draw comparisons in Star Realms to baseball. I mean, going all the way back to when Remy created Pan Galactic, that was at the time, we just called it the Baseball League. I mean, That is exactly what he was going for. And Dustin and I actually faced off. Do I remember? Was it the finals of season 2?
We did, and I also went against Homer Jr. in the finals. I was in both the first 2 seasons of that, and yes, I do remember. I do. If I remember correctly, Matt, you won that.
I had one incredible run through the playoffs of, and listen, I will always, of course, appreciate the Legend win. That was great, but I did that at a time where, in comparison to today's fields, really, I consider my most difficult Star Realms achievement winning a Pan-Galactic. Just because of the amount of time and the field. I mean, even at the time, the field... I mean, Remy hand-picked the people at the time. It was just... That's where I developed a rivalry with guys like Dave McCready, Sweet Justice. I mean, I don't really play him outside of stuff like that. I haven't played him in years. Still going, though. You know, it's funny when Remy told... just listening to one of the Megahaulin Classics, you know, he kind of told us this is probably a one and done. This is a little more. I bit off more than I could chew. And then I think maybe it's Brendan that took that over, Brendan Lapsley, but maybe I'm wrong. I know initially I think he did.
Yes. I think you're right. And you know, those leagues are still going strong over on Board Game Geek. Since you mentioned your Legend win, I'm going to mention. For me, what my I don't know. Oh, look what you got. Now I got to pay attention. Not worried about that card. The long hauler is an irritation, but yeah. I won the Platinum League in the Board Game Geek leagues in season 12, I think. And I had a really good run of staying in the. I think I stayed in the Platinum League for 5 seasons, which is pretty hard to do, considering who those people in that league are. And I look back not that long ago to see, and it's just still murderers row. Like everybody was just insanely good. And to win the season that I won, first of all, you remember Flying Arrow, Teijin?
Yeah, TJ I mentioned him a little bit earlier when we was saying I almost got to meet him, and then he's like, I just couldn't get to it. I'm like, all right.
Well, I'll mention a couple of interesting things about that guy, but he won, I think, 4 out of 5 seasons of the Platinum League in a row.
Wow.
And it was just insane how good he was. So the way that it worked at that point in time, I don't know how it works now. God, man, this is going to be the longest game we've played. This might go all the way. The way that it worked then was it went backwards. So if you were, you would play in opposition. So essentially the highest ranked players from the previous season always played the last match. So in order to make it into the finals, I think I had a 2nd place finish in the previous season. And of course, Flying Arrow was first, which meant 1 and 2 played the last game. So I had to beat him to force a tie. And that tie resulted in he and I playing a playoff for the Platinum season win. And so I had to beat Flying Arrow twice at probably his absolute peak of skill and attention in this game. And I won a Capital World playmat. And that is
he is still playing. Favorite. Just want to point out.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take anything away from that. I mean, he might be watching this.
No, I get you.
An incredible player. Oh my God. But I think that was probably those. I don't know what it likes. I don't know what it feels like to win a Legend tournament, but I know what it feels like to beat Flying Arrow back to back to take the Platinum.
No, and especially, I mean, that's such a storied and valued league. I mean, I never got in Platinum. I mean, I played from season 3 until 29.
Wow.
And I spent the overwhelming majority of that in Silver. And it's interesting. The one season that I spent in Gold, I went 7-4 and still got relegated down. I mean, that's how it was at the time.
7-4 and still got dropped.
Yes, yeah, I mean, yes. So I still kind of sat in silver then for a good number of seasons, and then it was right around the end of 2017 when I kind of stepped away from everything, except just games and queue. Is kind of when I ducked out of that as well. And I do consider going back, but there's so much compelling action just here in the Facebook group, and it sort of convenes around the Facebook group that I haven't quite looked back. They're in, I think, season 51 now. Is that correct?
Yeah, and Rick will update us on the cast. He'll give carrying on the tradition of reporting out notable competitive victories in tournaments and such, which we still continue to do. That's something that Rick accumulates. It also helps that he's running most of the tournaments, so he gets the information directly. Oh, neat. Now I have to buy this card because I've never played with this card. I don't like this card, even though I think Gateship is overrated. Oh no! Well, I'm buying this Warpgate Cruiser. I don't care what anybody says, because I've been trying to play a game with that card so long that it's worth it for me to lose a match.
No, I respect it. I respect it, especially. I mean, you're acknowledging. It's not a play mistake. You're acknowledging the educational venture here. Siege Fortress has been proven to be such a bomb, and I'll tell you what, man. People crap all over this cruiser every chance they get. I would love to see. You're a guy that does find the value in certain cards. You'll go to bat for the Fleet HQ. This could be your next project, man.
Yeah. I don't want to overstate that. I mean, you will remember the early days where we made the debate of Brain World versus Fleet HQ. And that was so obviously just trying to get people to have an opinion about something and then to state it. And so there's a little P.T. Barnum going on in that.
No, you were such a champ in taking the exercise of taking the lesser position, and I always respected that. And one thing that we did not ever quite get around to, that maybe when we do a reunion on Megahaulin, now that we'll have 3 or even more, we could do our long discussed 8th draft. And I think now we have some cards that really truly threaten or have exceeded Brain World. I mean, there's so much goodness out there now.
I do believe, though, you are right. I think that's absolutely true. But what I've really understood and started to believe is that a card like Reclamation Station is bonkers. Of course, it's a great card, but it's situational. And even if we do this, I'll save it for our actual time together. But the Brain World is perpetually a good card and will always be a good card. And I think that's something that's really significant that we shouldn't forget. Boy, I love it. We shouldn't forget that. And so let's see what happens. Oh, really? Make me discard?
So just want to point out for viewers, listeners, we are now at 1 a.m. Eastern. So Dustin has met his commitment. And I explained to my guests that this show doesn't have an end time. So, we're going to acknowledge that we're now at the end of the schedule. I just want to thank everyone for stopping in. This has been amazing. But we're going to keep playing, and I'll ask you at the end of this game if you want to go another, or at some point, maybe we have a hard cutoff. We'll have to kind of figure that out. I'm really enjoying the conversation, and I'm so grateful, that you're here doing this with me. That said, yeah, let's kind of keep going.
All right. Let's see. I now have to discard. I'm going to throw out these 2.
I think I was actually an hour off there on my... It's 12 Eastern, so still, okay. That's...
So here's some education for not reading the actual rules text of the card.
Oh.
So I didn't see that it automatically drew a card after it comes into play. Because my whole point here was to actually discard 2, scrap with the builder bot, and then that was what I was thinking was going to happen. That is not what's going to happen now.
So getting the card is a positive benefit that you're going to find is still not going to help this card much.
Yeah. Yep. I am learning slowly. I learn slow. It's funny. Yeah, all right, well, so be it. It pays to read the card. I do want to do that 8th draft, though. I think we should definitely do that 8th draft. For sure. Oh, yeah, this is a troubled game.
And it's cool now because there's so many of them that the amount of distance between top and bottom is pretty wide now, and I think it will be interesting. We can all sort of point and look at the ones we think are probably in the top 3. What will be interesting is whether we come to a consensus on like the bottom 3.
I think you're right. Let's see. This game is what's called a whole big old mess of trouble. I feel like I've been making mistakes here, but that's okay. We're having fun, and I'm enjoying the conversation as well. But I do believe I am whatever behind the 8 ball is, like the worst version of behind the 8 ball. I'm behind the thing that's behind the 8 ball.
That's you do have game 1 though here in Frontiers.
Yeah. No, I'm fine. I mean, let's see. Do I need to pair anything of it in this piece? Nope. I got enough. Oh, what's that card do?
So I will say, you've referenced a couple times UFC. I have, since the cast, I have not followed, unfortunately, up with UFC nearly as much. I still get a charge out of watching fights. But part of it is, most of my friends that I did that with in person have either moved or just moved on from UFC. I think I'm getting a little hiccup here in either the server or I'm still getting a green on my OBS. So I think my internet's probably fine, but we might have a server hiccup here for a sec.
Yeah, I still hear you just fine.
But, yeah, I still occasionally will pop in. And check out the news. I don't listen to MMA podcasts like I was. I'm not catching pay-per-views. I don't have the ESPN streaming service that's necessary for catching pay-per-views. But I do certainly miss aspects of it.
Mm-hmm. I have a friend, you might have heard about him, John Jones. Of course you know the famous UFC fighter, John Jones.
Yes.
Jones.
I was going to say, if you were friends with Bones, I feel like we would have discussed this at some point.
I'm not friends with Bones, but I am friends with the guy who has the John Jones Twitter handle, who is often mistaken for Bones.
Oh, funny. I bet he gets all sorts of fun love.
He's been on ESPN.
What?
He's been on ESPN to talk about how many people send him hate mail and just talk smack about him, because when they search for John Jones, oh, look at that, I'm going to survive a turn. What's that do? Sure, have it. Have it your way.
No, I'm going to just hit it to you.
Oh. Dag nabbit.
Not often that I do that, but...
Well, let's see if I can pull a miracle out of my rabbit. No, but I can make the score respectable. Well, there you go. Have at you.
Man, what a travesty. I used to be the biggest Bones Jones fan, and just unfortunately it's kind of just been disappointment after disappointment.
Yeah, I haven't followed him. More following my buddy, but good game.
Good game.
Let's look back now. That puts us at, let's see, 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins, 4 wins, 2 losses. Nope, 3 losses. So we're about even, just like normal.
Yeah. So
I think
we touched on it. What would you like to do time-wise, Dustin? I asked you for a chunk of time. You gave it to me. Would you like to go another game or two? Do we want to set any sort of guideline and maybe give viewers some sort of idea of what we're looking at?
Well, I think I jumped right out of work and jumped on the stream, so I think it's been a really great couple hours. I've had a lot of fun, and I think it's probably just as good to call it here. And as they say in show business, always leave them wanting more. I can always come back whenever you've got another spot for me.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question that everyone would enjoy that. I can just clarify, I will enjoy that. And it's been really fantastic just to catch up and just see that we're both we have our passions about the game. I miss talking to you. I very much enjoy every time a cast does come out, both new and old. And I'm looking forward to more of that. And yeah, I think there's a good chance I will look to have you on again. Is there anything else you want to say or talk about for the viewers before we call it?
No, just if you haven't had a chance to listen to the podcast, it's Megahaulin, a Star Realms podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at Megahaulin. You can find us in our strategy blog, which has a lot of great articles from the top players. Matt has penned a number of articles there as well, and it also has links to all the podcasts. That's megahaulin.wordpress.com. And just want to say, community is what you make it. So make sure that you're putting good energy out, that you're supportive, that you're teaching, that you're learning, and that you're helping to keep this community of great players as healthy and as vibrant and as positive as you've heard Matt and I talk about it on this stream. It's a great group of people, and you're one of those people. So get involved and help out, even if that means just participating in a crazy tournament that somebody's putting on.
So next week, guys, I announced this on the Wednesday stream last night. We're going to have Dusto, that's Dustin Bremer, lead admin on the Star Realms fan-created community page. He recently had his legend card release, the Templar. As we said, he has also been streaming, and he has also just been one of my closest friends in the world. He's my hetero life mate for more than 20 years. So look forward to that. Please do check in. And of course, I've got streaming on Wednesday night, and that is with chat participation and banter and all that kind of stuff. Dustin, thank you so much. We're going to call it there, guys. End in the stream. Have a good night. I'll stay on with you for a sec, Dustin.
All right. Thanks. Bye.